Okay, so, wir machen weiter. So, Uishi und Akasaka sind jetzt auf dem Weg zu dem einen abgelegenen Stadtteilzeug, wo sie vermuten, dass der Enkel von dem Ministertypen festgehalten wird und ja. Okay. If you were to call Hinamizawa a rather lonely village, then Takatsudo was outright desolate. For our everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anybody would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating that it was all abandoned. People really lived in a place like this, didn't they? Well, it was a long time ago. A remote place like this is pretty rough for old folk to live, and the younger people probably wanted to try living in a more suitable place. If there's nobody left to take the reins, all that gets left is this. Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. It seemed that Uishi also felt the same way. Was the wallet found over there? Over here? The person who found it must have a good reason to come out to this desolate place. There's some villagers who have a field out in the mountains here. They pass by here in the morning and evenings. The villagers who work in the fields walk by here every day. No way. They probably go as far as they can by car. So in the early mornings and evenings they pass by here and just happen to find a single wallet? They probably did. Ah. Where exactly did they say they found it? In a thicket just a bit further ahead. The person who found the wallet just happened to have some stomach cramps and was planning to use the thicket to do his business, it seems. It was there he happened to find it. Probably hoping there was some toilet paper in there. Everything about that story just seems a little too convenient. Right from the discovery of the wallet, I just can't shake the feeling that something's off. I expressed the feeling that I had from the start of the day quite frankly. It seemed too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. But it was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling. You might actually be onto something by saying it's a little too perfect. Meaning? The truth is, I heard a little something from a friend of mine in the 4th Division, where Oryo Sonozaki referenced the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. She referenced it? Yeah, it's been several days since the minister's grandson has been kidnapped. Poor boy. It'd be nice if they let him go soon. Ich weiß nicht warum, aber irgendwie habe ich das Gefühl, dass meine Uishi-Stimme irgendwie immer mehr ins Texanische reinschlüpft. It seems that old Oryo muttered something like that while on her veranda, and that little musing was conveyed to the various people working deep behind the scenes at the Sonosaki family. Right, I had heard something earlier from Sato-san, the informant, that when the leader Oryo had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate. So, in essence, she gave the order to release the hostage? I see it that way. The wallet being conveniently discovered was just a ploy to hand the boy over to the police. Why would they release the hostage? Well, there's only one reason why somebody would release a hostage, isn't there? What is it? They reached a deal. That would mean the minister promised to halt the Hinamizawa dam project. The dam project will definitely go away. At that moment, those words that the girl had said surfaced in the back of my mind. In the end, it was turning out exactly as she had proclaimed. That young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about this kidnapping incident, from the beginning to the end. Akasaka! The girl unexpectedly called my name. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? Before long, you will woefully regret coming to this village. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see, so I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. When you tried crossing the road when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl who knew everything from start to finish, had warned me in the beginning, go back to Tokyo. Ich weiß nicht, warum auf einmal gerade Kinder gelacht haben. Mehrere Kinder sogar. Komisch. Akasaka is such a coward. We'll probably find the boy, but what happens afterwards will probably be a bit of a problem. How it'll be a problem though is something a single officer like me can't figure out. Do you know a girl named Rika Furude? What I had said was such a non sequitur that way she sat in stunned silence for a while. Of course I know her. She's the only daughter of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. What kind of girl is she? Well, well. This was an unexpected name to hear. I'm a bit surprised. Does public safety think that Furude family smells fishy and wants to keep an eye on them? Share some of that information with me, please. Ah, no, it's not like that. It's just something that caught my attention. Hmm? Ah, ha, ha, well, whatever. It wouldn't do to not answer a question from a friend I've sat at the same table with. I'm honored that you call me a friend. So, that little lady is, well, somewhat of a village mascot. She's beloved by everybody in the village. Some of the older folk worship her especially. Worship? I don't know much about it, you see. Girls born in the Furude family have somewhat of a sacred implication, it seems. It's one of the local beliefs in Hinamizawa. The living incarnations of Oyashiro-sama, or something like that. Or so the story goes, apparently. Oyashiro-sama? Now that you mention it, I think I saw Oyashiro-sama written on some of the Alliance's banners. What is Oyashiro-sama exactly? Ah, it's the name of the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. They believe it'll exact punishment on those who would do ill towards the village. Well, if there was such a convenient god around, the guys at the dam would have long since been done in by divine justice. Luckily, nothing like that has happened to anybody just yet. The grandson of the minister who trifled with the village as a result of Oyashiro-sama's anger was... what did they call it again? Alright, Onikakushi. The minister's grandson was demoned away. That would probably be how the script is being written. Ah, I see. It probably would turn into something like that. Divine punishment wrought by Oyashiro-sama. And the culprit is the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That girl? Ah, even I didn't know exactly what I was saying. The fact that Oishi laughed it off was a bit of a relief. Oishi's joyous laughter was so infectious that I began to laugh like an idiot as well. Oh, this is unusual. Oh, this is unusual. Oishi, after laying into the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. It was a car headed the opposite way. Until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. And of all places, it was at this desolate location. It seemed that Oishi knew the owner of the car. The other car also chirped its horn and came to a stop. Hier. Dr. Hier. Good afternoon. The other car's window rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white overcoat. He was about my age, or perhaps a bit older, but you really can't judge somebody by their appearance. Why, if it isn't Oishi-san, good afternoon. Ha, fancy meeting you here. That's my line, Doctor. I never thought I'd see you here. What happened? Oh, nothing, just a little house call. Oh, really? Was it an emergency? No, nothing quite that serious, thankfully. No, I'll take my leave here. If I don't get back quickly, my staff will be angry with me. Being the head of a clinic must be tough. Well then, take care. The young doctor named Hier, after gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and soon disappeared around a corner. Oishi also drove forwards, but soon came to a stop again. He pulled out a worn map book from the dash. His expression didn't have an ounce of irreverence. He was perfectly serious. What is it? The clinic shouldn't be making any house calls today. It must have been quite an emergency, or otherwise a patient with some extenuated circumstances. Oishi flipped through the pages opening up to the map of Takatsuro. After that, he took a look around and started to figure out what our current location was. Are you saying that the emergency is suspicious? Didn't I say? There's hardly anybody that lives in the Takatsuro area. The road we're on right now is here. Dr. Hier came from this direction. Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating on the map. We're heading towards the spot where the wallet was found. By the way, it's over here. But see? If you're heading to one of the few residences in Takatsuro, it's the wrong road. Meaning, Dr. Hier came from a direction where there are no residents? As long as somebody working in the fields between these mountains didn't collapse. But if somebody collapses and you call a doctor, normally you'd bring them back with you for a more detailed examination. But just now Dr. Hier said it was nothing serious, and it didn't seem like anybody else was in the car with him. Oishi didn't say any more than that. I also said nothing more. That doctor just now examined a patient close by. Only that the noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky had just as suddenly turned an oppressive color. As Oishi mused that it might start to rain, a torrential downpour started, as though trying not to disappoint him. Eventually, Oishi stopped the car. The only sounds to break the silence were the percussion of the rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers. Let's do this a bit hush-hush, shall we? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful not to make any noise. Oishi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and a car that was parked beside it. The car looked obviously well cared for. It wasn't a vehicle that had been left there for several years. What's that shed? It contains equipment used by the forestry service. I heard that they don't go near it except during the summertime. Does that car belong to somebody from the forestry service then? Dunno. It doesn't look like an official vehicle though. Oishi was playing it cool, but my nervousness was gradually increasing. Just in case, saying that Oishi returned to the car. I thought he was going to get an umbrella, but he had grabbed the onboard radio instead. Hello, this is Oishi. They reach. Greetings. This is the Okonomiya SP. Oishi-san, we read you loud and clear. Over. I'm currently in front of the Forestry Service's equipment shed. Not the one in the direction of Yaguchi. The one in Takatsuro, if you head there from here to Izawa. Affirmative. Copy that. There are some suspicious people in the shed. Proceeding to investigate. If you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, get in touch with the local police substation and then have them send a cruiser as soon as possible. If you would, please. Understood. Well then, shall we go take a look? No, No, Since he was first confined here, he had heard the sound of a car multiple times. So he just thought the far-off sound was more of the same. However, the reaction from his captors was, until now, something he hadn't seen before. They jumped, reacting as if shocked by a jolt of electricity, and pressed against the window, cautiously peering outside. They stopped. Somebody from the forestry service. This is bad. Nah, looks like a cop to me. Keine Ahnung, wie ich die Stimmen letztes Mal gemacht habe von denen. One of the captors lifted the boy by his collar and pressed a blade against his cheek. Hey kid, keep quiet for a bit. I think you know this, but if you try and shout, there'll be problems. Toshiki Inugai was sure that the doctor had reported things to the police. He had felt relief when he thought that he was saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence when they were cornered, his anxiety remained unabated. What do we do? Go by time. Take the kid and slip out of the back. We'll meet back here when the heat's off. One of the perpetrators grabbed the boy by the collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki Inugai tried to resist by feigning that his illness had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but his captors paid no heed. Bang, bang, bang! The door was violently banged upon. Excuse me, hello! Bang, 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 bang! The door was banged on again. Toshiki Inugai hesitated for a moment to respond to that voice by yelling. However, while he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking that option away from him. The leader of the captors waved at the other to go. The younger perpetrator nodded in response, and while keeping the boy's mouth covered, started heading towards the back door. Hello, do you need something? Hello, do you need something? How do you do? This is the police. Would you mind opening the door? The sudden rain has us in a bit of trouble. I'll just open. The moment the lock was undone, Oishi forced the door open, and with a gleam of menace in his eyes, he pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. Then, in the small and empty room, he was able to quickly discern that the boy he was looking for was nowhere to be seen. I heard this was an equipment shed for the forestry service, but there's nothing here at all. There was nothing inside the room that would indicate this was an equipment shed. There was only a mountain of blankets indicating that somebody was sleeping here, alongside empty food packets strewn about. It's been empty for some time now. Never seen no equipment store around here. Well, it's the forestry service building, isn't it? Are you from the forestry service? How about your police? How about your police? The two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Oishi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal their identity before the other did. Naja, Oishi hat ja vorhin schon gesagt, vor der Tür, dass er von der Polizei ist, also. The man, judging from the sharp look in Oishi's eyes, realized that it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. No matter what he said, the most time he could buy would probably be only a few dozen seconds. Only the sound of rain filled this tense moment. Kann man ja auch nur behaupten. Ja, okay, stimmt auch wieder. Just then, they heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Kann immer noch nicht sein, ne? Ja, okay, stimmt. Oishi had a hunch. Aber ich meine, Oishi ist doch eigentlich relativ bekannt in Hinamizawa und so weiter. Und wenn die Leute für die Sonosaki-Familie arbeiten, müssten die den im Endeffekt eigentlich auch kennen. Weil zumindest sind es Leute halt, die mit Hinamizawa was zu tun haben. Die müssten den eigentlich kennen. Oder so, keine Ahnung. There was no doubt that Akasaka, who was circling around back, had run into the perpetrators who were trying to slip away. As Oishi thought that, the man in front of him reacted a moment faster. The man swung with an attack that was more intended to obscure Oishi's vision rather than actually hit him in the face. Seizing his opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Oishi's groin without any hesitation. Das ist aber nicht schön. But he missed his mark and was unable to land that critical blow. The man trying to pin Oishi grabbed him by the base of his neck with both hands and fiercely tried to push him down. But as Oishi fell backwards, as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum, the man was flung by the falling Oishi as if by a circle throw. The two of them squared off in the pouring rain. Isn't this interesting? You wanna go? Ha 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 ha! Oishi, as if trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He then stood up while brushing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Oishi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man who he threw, who swiftly sprang to his feet. Action-Musik, spannend. Yeah. Oishi-san, hurry! Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Judging from the distress in his voice, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Oishi to reconvene with him. But Oishi's hands were full as well. Akasaka-san! Sorry, but can you wait a bit? The man raised both fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or some other form of martial art. Of course, Oishi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights before. Because of that, he could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Ah, damn it! Thinking that this was going to be easy just because the order came from the Sonosaki family to release the hostage had been a big mistake. You're pretty good. It's been a while since I got this worked up. Oishi played off the situation like it was no sweat. His opponent, seeing his attitude, took that to mean that Oishi wasn't going to go down easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempting to grab Oishi. If the man managed to successfully clinch from his low stance, Oishi would be tackled to the ground and end up being mounted. It was something you saw often when children fought, but it really was a bad position, since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Oishi, responding to that move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head-on. The moment they clashed, Oishi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. It was a move from Oishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed on with his free hand and attempted to throw his opponent with both hands. But the man lowered his center of gravity and swung his arms in a large arc, entwining them with Oishi's. Not only that, but he had forced both of Oishi's elbows to the outside, and Oishi, now in an awkward position, was in danger of exposing his back with his hands still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido or grappling, didn't he? Oishi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over, and to top it off, at zero range. The man was able to read Oishi's movements completely as he tried to squirm his way into a better position. And then took the palms of his hands and swiftly collapsed them over both of Oishi's ears. Ah! Clapping the ears in any other martial art except for self-defense was basically forbidden. Karate and Judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. It was at that much of a simple, a dangerous attack. Oishi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears, but before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Oishi's neck. His thick biceps clenched firmly around the base of Oishi's neck like a vice. Oishi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe that a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He had chosen to keep his hold and force Oishi to lose consciousness. That's why Oishi at that moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponent had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. However, even though that might be the case, the man's hold on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Oishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo during his student days, Oishi was utterly resigned to the fact that it was over. No. Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He had bumped into the captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki Inugai's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain if the boy in front of him was the real deal. What with his mouth covered in packing tape. Also, with his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook this momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot, with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. But upon hearing Oishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going that direction. He then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Oishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option. But he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through a short thicket, branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed at him, small scratches inscribing themselves on his body one after another. He kept on stepping into puddles and mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, traveling through this unexplored forest was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. "Stop! This is the police!" As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as it was but a waste of breath. There wasn't a thief in the world that would politely stop when told to by the police. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realizing that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him. We were running in the same conditions. In fact, the man running with an awkward stride was at far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon his wish was fulfilled. Ah! The man who had stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all, just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Inugai. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. But it seemed that Toshiki Inugai was important to the man as well, and didn't elect to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should probably be to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on, but most likely it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of indecision proved to be fatal. The man aiming right between, or rather for both of Akasaka's eyes, struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his arms to shield his face. At that moment, the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. The pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body, but he latched onto his opponent's leg. But his opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances was he letting that leg go. The two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, who was still latched onto his leg and couldn't move away, and pounded full force on his head with both his fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Thwack, thwack, thwack! The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head. But if he let go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, then it was goodbye to this freakish village. Bam! Crack! Thud! Without looking, I could tell my forehead had split open and was gushing blood. But auf einmal ist es wieder in der Ich-Perspektive. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I won't let go. When the man realized that no matter how much he beat my head, he wasn't getting away, he used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush my windpipe. I pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was of no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as it was choking so hard I felt like I was going to throw up. It was choking so hard, ja. Sein Kopf ist auf. It felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, meine ich. But I could only endure it. Damn it, damn it, damn it! My throat hurts! I won't let go, I can't let go. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Go back to Tokyo and talk to Yuki. All about our unborn child. We were going to talk about our bright future. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit and the man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning and I was unable to get up right away. No, I couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, his chance would never come back. This chance would never come back. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over the head with. Now it's my turn! Yeah! The rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough power to my attack. My fist, still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. It seems like it hurt him quite a bit. The man rolled around for a bit, clutching his side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. Toshiki Inogai, right? I've come to help you. For the boy, those were the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That was because even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and had taken a fighting stance. I could see in the man's eyes the resentment at the pain I had caused him, and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash head on again, he might not even stop if my head were split open. Stop resisting. Surrender quietly. You should just hand the boy over. Do you want me to snap your neck? Who would listen to you now? Reinforcements are already on the way. There's nowhere for you to run. The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That was because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realizing that the man shifted mental gears almost too quickly. Then let's finish this fast. How about this? What the man pulled from his back pocket was, of all things, a gun. Of course, I'm a police officer. It's not like I don't know what a gun is. But having one pointed at me was something I'd never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There's no way it'd be a replica in a situation like this. Put both your hands behind your head and lay down quietly. Don't get cocky, you villain. I won't do anything you say. You stupid idiot. Do you not know what this is without me shooting you with it? Then shoot. Reinforcements will hear the gunshot and head right over here. Hey, stupid. We're in the middle of the forest and on top of that it's raining. They'll never hear a thing. As long as he still held that gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him and take the boy. That way was the fastest and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot, meaning that he either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. Oishi was probably on his way, and the reinforcements were called for before coming here should already be well on their way too. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that. Damn it! Do I have to put a bullet in you to understand how dangerous this thing is? There's no escape. Don't add to your crimes. At that moment, I heard the rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. If Oishi was coming here, it was a whole new ball game. The man couldn't have more than one gun. Oishi-san! Over here! Over here! Ha! I had thought that time was on my side, but I had failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. You could tell the man who had just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him. What are you doing? If you don't hurry up, the police will get you. Stop lollygagging. Damn it, what happened to Oishi-san? Ah, the chubby fella. He's down for the code. He. Yes? Damn it. The boy, sensitive to the impending danger curled up behind my back. How could this be? Damn it! Your body isn't coming. Serves you right. She's on the other foot now. As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun. Won't be saying this twice. Put your hands on your head and lie down. I refuse. Bang! As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register that I had been shot. Compared to the ones from in movies and TV dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. It was a fear you knew only after you've been shot. Ah! Sir, are you okay? Are you okay? The boy in his confusion tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect. I'm alright. I've already called for backup. There'll be a full squad here soon. I'll be quick at the part. Put on through your head before the cops get here. But the family said no needles killing, so I'm taking it easy on ya. Don't mess with me or I ain't bowling back. This was bad. It was very, very bad. The second man was a completely different beast than the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody that a man like me could buy time from. I really hated to admit it, but at that moment the image of Yuki's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself to not throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life with Yuki, and I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life for some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical juncture in my own life? Ah, damn it! Damn it! I need to stop rambling at myself. So what do I do now? Give up the boy and extend my own life? What a good idea! Everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. Ah, god damn it, it hurts! It hurts! If I had known it would be this painful, I wouldn't have played the tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I had imagined. If it was only that loud, it would be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear. Damn it! Wait, just wait. I don't want to die. Ah, and I don't want to kill ya. As long as you understand. Don't shoot, okay? Don't shoot. I have a wife waiting for me at home. I don't want to die. I won't shoot so long as you don't yell or nothing. Just quietly put your hands on your head and lie down. Will you really? Will you really? You'll keep your promise, right? There's a promise between men. I will. There's a promise between men. Keep your promise. Keep it. I'm going to get down on ground, okay? I'm getting down. I'll keep my promise, so stop pounding that gun at me. You're still thinking of shooting me, aren't you? You want to shoot me, don't you? When I get down on the ground, you're just going to shoot me in the back of my head, aren't you? I won't. Fine. I'll put it away. I'll put the gun away. There's a promise between men. There. No problem now, right? Absolutely no complaints. Kaboom! Yeah! It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Oishi didn't let his chance slip by. Oishi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men. But since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Oishi's face indicating that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. Oishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Oishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. If that man was the one that was wrestling with Oishi at the moment, he might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Oishi kicked the other man away, and while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With guns akimbo, he was aiming at both men at the same time. I do believe that's checkmate. It was perfectly played, but heedless of the guns pointed at them, the man shouted "Scram!" as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. These two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Oishi, quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pockets. Tch, those guys know their stuff. What do you mean? An officer won't fire at somebody who's fleeing. I want to keep my pension here. Oishi and I grinned at each other. Are Toshiki Inogai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction Inogai? Yes. This is going to be a major incident. We probably only cut the tail off the lizard, though. Oh, fuck. Oishi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Onikafuji Defense Alliance, or rather the Sonosaki family behind them, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. And with apologies to Oishi, this incident was unlikely to go public. If this caused an uproar, it would obviously lead to the minister losing his office. With HQ having decided that doing so was in a national interest, this would probably be cleaned up quietly. It might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows and this was going to die in the shadows. Oishi probably already understood the implications behind this incident. For the time being, let's cordon off the area, since it seems that one of them still has a gun. After that, let's get Inogai-kun to safety and get you to the hospital. As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realized that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound, without a doubt. There would probably be an investigation on the men who ran, but that was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we had cleared the major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. As soon as I recognized that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by a power failure. Flip. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant, even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Oishi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. Kapitel zu Ende. Leck! Was? Wann Leck? Vor 5 Minuten. Dann hoffe ich, war das nicht lange. Hoffentlich ging der nicht lang. Mission accomplished. Achievement. Wunderbar. So, das war Kapitel 4. Da kommt nicht mehr super viel. Inzwischen wieder gut. Das ist schön. Okay, Kapitel zu Ende. Nächste Woche geht's weiter.